Good morning, people. Just got back from a bit of a week cruise with my dad, introducing him to this lifestyle. So a lot of these issues are fresh on my mind because I've been actively explaining to somebody who's not familiar with the lifestyle. So I will share some of those thoughts and we'll continue this conversation. So in the last uh, little presentation here, I'm sure I presented a image that was a little contrary to what you might hear from the YouTube channels or the glossy sailing magazines or stuff of that nature. It sounds a little grim, more congestion, more expense, more regulatory hassle, more of all that. And of course, that is all true. Um, that's just the nature of where we are in a lot of things in the world at this moment. Um, but this should not in any way discourage you from your goals and dreams. It's just that one is going to have to look at the project of taking on the waterman's lifestyle um, in a different manner than the last generation of people did so. And in fact, a lot of the attitude that is going to be necessary to be adopted is going to resemble a couple of generations ago rather than what is currently being sold. Um, the fact is that the modern cruiser who is getting started today is going to be facing a world, again, that's a little more complicated, even in the context of weather being more dynamic. And it's going to take more resilience and a more robust attitude, um, a more cost-conscious attitude for most of us than it would have been over, say, the last 20 or so years. Again, this shouldn't be necessarily a source of dismay. If there is any lesson that I have learned over doing this for perhaps the last 30 some odd years now, believe it or not, it's that the greatest source of joy and satisfaction that this lifestyle has brought me is precisely um, found in the overcoming of obstacles, whether that's in the sailing itself or whether that's in the economics of the thing or whether that's just simply fixing things that break in the marine environment. It's the autonomy and the confidence that comes from having a track record of overcoming these obstacles that has been the greatest gift of the lifestyle. It's important to see these things as opportunities for satisfaction and growth rather than catastrophes. If one learns that lesson and doesn't rob oneself of seeing things in that manner, um, well, it's a wonderful life, actually, and it still will be, and as far as I can see, compared to its alternatives, always will be. So again, the secret to success here that you see repeated over and over again by people that pull this off is a deliberate, incremental approach that overcomes obstacles over a trial period and succeeds, building confidence as they go, becoming more capable as one goes, where this ends up being not a vacation but a career. And you really do earn your autonomy, and you're just as comfortable being in your home port ultimately or anywhere else in the world. It doesn't matter that much. This is a very different model than the idea that you often see, where it's a matter of somebody saves up a great big pile of money and sails away with, none of that except a big pile of money. In fact, very often that comes to grief because the confidence hasn't been built, nor the skills, only the capital, and it's very easy to stick your nose out the first couple of weeks, have some kind of obstacle or disaster that you have no idea even that could happen to you, and that can be so incredibly discouraging that the entire project gets abandoned. And you do see this all the time, in fact. Um, so let's be wary of that and not get caught up there. Now, one of the things that people new to this biz get frustrated with is in a perception that they're being impeded in getting the necessary skills that they think they need to have because for financial reasons or whatever, they're spending not as much time, quote unquote, out there as they'd like. And sure, I mean that is a source of frustration, but it's worth considering that if you're going to take on this kind of voyaging and this exploring for real, it has always been the case for mariners that a very significant part of any given voyage is the preparation for the voyage. And because we are moving into a world where it's less easy to count on there being fuel there when you need it, or there being fresh water available for you at the dock if you should need it, or even to be able to gather rainfall to fill your tanks if you should need it, or any of the rest of this. Um, Voyage planning and preparation is going to be a larger factor than it has been over the last 20 or 30 years, um, as the essential services are just simply harder to come by in many, many places. And when you can get them, the circumstances are more congested, more of a hassle, and more expensive. So to bring back more traditional techniques of voyage preparation that emphasizes the seakeeping ability of the vessel, meaning that you can be further away from port for longer periods of time and more reliant on your own supply rather than reliant on services where they are, immediately available, because they won't be. Anything that you can do to give you staying power away from the port is going to serve you very well in preserving not only your capital, but the fuel on board, your freshwater consumption, and your general sense of like hassle and anxiety dealing with the crowded places where you can get these things. So for me, in spite of the fact that I've been accused in the past as being some form of sailing Amish practically, um, I've researched pretty heavily the kinds of things that were traditionally done, as well as more modern adaptations of good provisioning. I mean, there's a pile of informational videos in this. I mean, for sure. I mean, perhaps I'll get into it, the more technical, practical how-to. But if I'm getting ready to leave the dock, I mean, quite frequently I will break out the food processor and make 15 pounds of bread dough that will get frozen and put in the freezer in like 1 pound loaves so that I can have fresh baked bread on supply anywhere I want to go for, the better part of a month. I will certainly take a Costco run and I will see whatever that they've got for fruits and vegetables and I run that through my food dehydrator and I bag that all away because it's certainly way more efficient carrying them in a dehydrated form than it is carrying large lunky cans as if you need to cart salt water around. Um, you can pack away hundreds of pounds of produce in a dehydrated manner. I will break out my pressure cooker, another essential tool that has largely been forgotten by modern yachtsmen. Used to be completely ubiquitous. Make 10 pounds of cooked beans and run them through the dehydrator so that if I want beans or chickpeas or things of that nature out in the environment, which are easy staples, it's just a matter of reconstituting them rather than cooking them for hours, saving boiling water, fresh water, and fuel, of course. Anything that you can pack together that are meals that require less attention, less cleaning of plates, less of anything of that kind of thing, saves you tremendous dipping into your stores and hassle and all the rest. If you're thoughtful about this, this can be very, satisfying. You can do this all the dock. It's not infrequent that I break out my reflux still, and I make 2 or 3 gallons of white rum or something of that nature, because it's very expensive to buy in funny little ports, even if it's available. A lot of them on my coast are dry towns. Um, so, like, if that's part of your habit and you like to lubricate the gears of life with a touch of ethanol, well, you can make a high quality bottle of white rum where it's legal to do so for under $3. And if you're somebody that enjoys that kind of thing on occasion, it's well worth your time to think about doing so. Certainly, you can pack um, preserved meats like bacons or things of that nature in food grade tubs packed with salt. That's very easy. That's been done for centuries. Could show you how to do that. All of these things that allow you to do the prep and preparation at the dock, where you basically have unlimited fresh water, unlimited power, access to all sorts of tools, dehydrators, food processors, big mixers, and the rest, which then you don't have to take with you on the boat when you're out there, will just free up tons of time and tons of resources and tons of supplies that you won't consume in the anchorage. This is all stuff a person can get started on right now. It can be a very satisfying thing to take on. And I think most of you will find if you do so, it'll satisfy the itch to get started, teach essential skills, and provide yet another pathway to autonomy and engagement with the lifestyle that you'll find really satisfying. And in fact, because I've got some voyages coming up, much of this is going to be happening for me this weekend. And so maybe I'll take a pick or two about how to go about it. But anyway, more material here to consider. Um, Again, baby steps. Build confidence and success one step at a time. Know that you can get going right now. Certainly a lot of it is about being out there, but preparing for the out there is just as important as the out there. A lot can be done right now. So I encourage you to think about what you can do to increase your resilience and your staying power and really get started. So cheers, people.